You are listening to Altman Podcast number 7. So, I've watched a lot of cowboy movies, and I thought that I had a pretty good sense of what it took to ride a horse. And as it turns out, I did. I had about half of what it took to actually ride a horse down pat. So, long story short, I ended up getting a horse, never really ridden one before, and I had a friend who was really into riding horses, and she had ridden horses her whole life. So I thought, oh, this is going to be great. Let's have her come and teach me. Unfortunately, she was pregnant and she just didn't feel up to it and her pregnant body and whatever. Anyway, she wasn't able to make it, so I decided that I'm just going to jump on this horse and go. Now, jumping on the horse is the easy part. Okay? You put one foot in the saddle, not the saddle, the stirrups, and then you just whoop and ollie up your other one over. Now, I'd watched cowboys make the horse go plenty of times. So, how hard could it be, right? You take your feet and you go bam into the side of the horse and the horse just starts going. So I did that. I went bam. And guess what? It worked. It worked so well. Unfortunately, I think it worked a little too well. And my feet are big and I was wearing boots and I don't necessarily know my own strength. So all of a sudden this horse is going a lot faster than a novice like me is ready for. So I decide, whoa, this is scary. I have to slow the horse down. And what do you do when you want to slow the horse down? You pull up on the reins, right? But there's a way to do it. There's a very nice, kind way to do it for the horse. Now, what you're supposed to do is put your weight down into your heels and pull the reins down. Now, looking back, my weight was way forward. My weight was forward. I was pitched forward. There's no reason I should have been riding that horse. And so the way my weight was dispersed, leaning forward like that, and the way I was pulling back on the reins, I looking back, I pulled back to the left, and guess what the horse did? He rounded. He got on his hind legs, he rounded, and he went to the left. And all of a sudden, my horse is walking around in circles. And no, this is not stopping. And I immediately release the reins, and he starts walking again, just forward. And so now I'm getting scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck on this horse. And my immediate thought is, I'm going to jump off this horse. I'm going to take my two hands, I'm going to push off the saddle, and I'm going to fly backwards, and I'm going to land behind the horse. And it's going to be perfect. Unfortunately, I was not wearing cowboy boots. I was wearing big, heavy duty work boots. I was wearing steel toes, my good old tan steel toes. And so the treads in there are really good. And I am locked in to these stirrups. My leg, my foot, I was going to have to finagle it out of this thing. Just sliding off or falling off the horse was not an option for me. And again, looking back, I'm really lucky I didn't fall. Because if I fell, I think my foot was going to stay in there. I was going to be dragged. I was going to be dragged for 100 yards. I mean, the field I was in was not a little horse corral field either. I was in a large, open, 3-acre field. I mean, this thing, the horse had some room to go. And I was going to be dragged for a long time, and it was going to be painful, and I was going to end up in the hospital. So anytime I get into a situation where I can't fix whatever's happening, I do what I do best. I get my phone out and I go to YouTube and I am on the back of a moving horse, YouTubing, how do I make my horse stop? How do I stop a horse? And all of a sudden I'm watching YouTube videos on how to make your horse stop. And let me tell you, thank goodness for YouTube, because my horse did it. My horse stopped. And it was great. And we have been friends ever since. But I really wish that somebody had been there, someone else had been there to just video what was happening. I mean, how many people can say that they had to video, they had to YouTube how to stop a horse? In the back of my mind, I think maybe I can sell this story to Google. And it can be the next Google commercial. Google saves man from dying on horseback. Now, I will say I was wearing a helmet, so if I did fall, I would likely survive. But it still wouldn't feel good. Reminder real quick to like, comment, and in the comments, feel free to share your favorite horse story, or if you have a lot of experience about horses, and share the podcast with somebody else if you enjoy it. But even I, as a full grown man, watching the horse and your first time on top of the horse, you really don't appreciate until you're on top of it just how big a horse is and how far it is to the ground until you look down and think to yourself, I might die. I might break my neck. This is how I die. Tell my story. But at least if I die this way, maybe I'll end up on the news, like semi famous in my death. Of course, I'll probably get a lot of trolling and people talking about, well, he was stupid. He deserved to die. He went up there not knowing how to ride a horse. And yeah, they'd probably be right. In my defense, though, cowboys make it look easy. I mean, how hard is riding a horse really when you can let go of the reins and use both hands with a couple of 6-shooters and just bam, 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 killing Indians left and right? I mean, come on. Indians ride them all the time, too. They ride them bareback. They don't even need saddles. They just take their arrows and foo, 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 killing cowboys and innocent women and children. I mean, come on. I really, if there's one thing that this story should teach you, it's that TV is wrong, and we should probably blame television for our misdeeds. TV has warped my vision of the world. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with that. This story is all about television steering me wrong. And really, those cowboy movies, they don't have disclaimers ahead of time saying, don't try this at home. Could I sue somebody for a lot of money? Reminder to Google that. Like it, comment about this podcast, and share it with a friend. Thank you all so much. And as always, if you want to see the full podcast, just go to Patreon.